Tarsum singed again.
Tarsum singed? Was this one of his?
Yes, this was one
Oh,
of
okay.
his.
All right, well, that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because it's got a lot of pretty stuff in it. There's a lot of things that are fancy. There's lots of color. But boy, is it completely devoid of any sort of fulfilling elements or, it's just hollow. Uh-oh, we have a disagreement.
I don't know that I completely felt that way.
All right, that's it, Leon. Get out. I'll have no truck with you, sir. No,
Tarsum Singh. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. This is Tarsum Singh's newest film. First film since his 2006, The Fall, which I think is easily, and I don't think there's any argument that that's his best film, generally speaking.
Well, when his other film is The Cell.
Yeah, what are you going to do? But both of those films, he also had that sense of design that it was clear that he has an eye, if nothing else. He just wasn't particularly good at telling stories on the whole.
And he loves the color red.
He does love the color red, and that shows to great effect in this latest one, Immortals, which is really his way of sort of moving up the ladder from just art house director to, big epic filmmaker.
Sure, it's a step that goes somewhere in between. It's almost like he said, well, all right, they're giving me something that's basically 300 meets Clash of the Titans. But what can I do with it? What would make it special to me?
Right. Well, he describes it as saying it's Caravaggio meets Fight Club, like a.
Okay, let's not get carried away.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Tarsum, okay, settle down, son.
Well, that's the problem with this guy, is that I've always found him to be, and like I said, everyone knows how much I hate throwing this word around. I do. I don't think it's appropriate to use this word unless it's appropriate, but I think it's appropriate to call him kind of pretentious. He throws around art the way, like, Jackson Pollock, like, splattered paint on paintings. He's just like, okay, this looks arty, right? Well, what does it mean? What's the point of it? I don't know. But it looks arty, right?
It's funny because I might have taken exception to you labeling him like that. But at the screening for The Fall, he was there. So I got to actually experience him in person.
I was there with you, remember? And we got the same, we had the same reaction. We're like, holy shit, this guy is full of shit. He's the Michael Bay of art house films.
He seems to totally buy whatever it is he's selling.
Yeah.
And, he
has drunk.
And the thing is, you watch The Fall, you're like, you know what? This is a work of art. It's an art piece. It's like a living canvas, the whole thing.
No, there's no question.
Story-wise, I don't know about that. But and here, with Immortals, well, listen, I'm going to tell you right off that not only did I not dislike this movie, I liked it on some level.
Wow. Okay.
But at no time did I think of calling it art or referring to it in that way.
Right.
It was a pop kind of just really actiony, very actiony story with the gods and the Greeks, which is like ever since you're, a 13-year-old boy, you want to see, because the gods are always like DC superheroes in togas, and it's done to where it's plenty of blood and action and I'm like, you know what? On the level of what it's trying to be, I'm totally with that, and I think it's succeeding. But the minute you try to call it something more than that, I have to take exception and go like, I'm sorry, let's back it off.
Here's my thing. I will give it points for the way that it has a super saturated colors and it's just its general look to a certain extent, but no more than I give 300 points for the exact same thing.
Sure.
Just looking different in that way. I mean, it doesn't look just like 300. A lot of people are saying
that's the funny thing, because you watch the trailers and it totally looks like it's going to be 300. That's that's all it says. It's almost like it's saying like, hey, this is the sequel to 300.
Right.
And then you watch it and it's like, well, it's the same time period.
Well, it's more than that. It's the same idea in telling this kind of story in this time period. All I'm saying is that the look is different. The look is stylistics, but the concepts behind it are almost identical.
Right.
Let's make an ultra-violent, really shallow, total reinvention of this mythos that really has very little in common with the original mythos. I don't know where the hell they got this from. But,
well, I'm sure they got it from Bullfinch's mythology. Bullshit's mythology.
I was going to say. But, you know what? Look, but the story, hell, man, this made me miss 300. Because I was like, at least 300 had some sort of sense that, like, someone had read the other pages of the script. You know what I mean? Whereas this is like, we just gave every 2 pages to a different guy and said, it's about, like, Theseus and shit. Just write something. did that guy die already? Yeah, but whatever. People are just here to see heads explode.
It's funny because the point you're making, how it doesn't stick to the Greek myths, and I sort of forgave it more than 300 because 300 is supposedly based on, well, okay, a fact that's based in myth, but it's supposed to be based on a historical event,
right?
Where it's like, yeah, you guys, you really wrote your own thing here. Where I'm like, okay, you're dealing with Greek myths; they're fairy tales to begin with, so I go ahead and take your liberties. What the hell?
Yeah.
By the time it was written down by James Joyce or whoever, it was probably already done that way. I'm sorry, who wrote the
Ulysses is like a totally different.
Well, I'm just saying, you know what I mean.
You thinking like Homer?
Yeah, Homer. There you go.
Like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking about.
That's funny.
Hey man, I'm spitballing here.
I would like to see James Joyce's version of this. It probably would have been a lot more. It probably would not have made a lot more sense.
Okay, so this is more like the Greek myth as written by Homer Simpson.
Yeah, kind of is really. I was just surprised. Well, no, I was about to say no one got hit in the balls, but sure enough, almost one of the first big things is somebody getting hit in the balls.
Which I gotta say, man, on the basis level, I love that.
Do you really?
You know what? Wow. I got to give it an extra point because it pulled off hitting somebody in the balls in a way that I was totally behind.
Oh, see, that didn't get. I had the opposite reaction. I was like, really? All right. But anyway, we haven't even talked about what the actual story, as it were, is about. Now, this is like we said about the Greek gods, and it follows Theseus, a young Theseus played by Henry Cavill,
soon to be Superman.
Soon to be Superman, who is just kind of a peasant. He lives in this small village that's cut into the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
For some reason, seems pretty impractical to me.
The Indians did it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, just like nonetheless.
No, seriously. You go to Arizona, you'll see places.
No. I know they did. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know. It seemed a little extreme with the rest of the surroundings. That's all.
The rest were, they were kind of out in the desert. I could see it.
Look, shush! It's my thing.
Okay, go ahead.
But while they're having their peaceful little existence, him and his mom living there, and his advisor, his sort of teacher, played by John Hurt, who's probably going to do nothing but those type of roles for the rest of his career at this point. Meanwhile, there's this evil king, King Hyperion, who doesn't want to be called a king, but he's a king anyway, who's played by Mickey Rourke, who's decided that he is going to take out the gods themselves, and he's looking for this bow called the Epirus bow, which it was created by Ares at one point, and when they fought the Titans back when, and imprisoned them in this cage, and since then has been hidden. I don't know why they didn't just destroy it, but that's the gods.
Well, you never know when you might want to use that for something else.
Yeah, plus they're just capricious in general.
And you got to admit, the bow is pretty badass.
It is pretty badass.
If I created something like that, and somebody said you got to get rid of that, it'd be like, yeah.
I wonder if the guy who did the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon is going to sue. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, so he's taking out the previously existing king. He's massacring everyone in sight, pretty much. I'm not sure why. It seems kind of impractical on his road to free the Titans to attack the gods.
Well, now to be fair, his goal is pretty much like Thulsa Doom. I'm going to run over these towns, steal the women, steal the men, steal the weapons, amass my army,
and become a god. Yeah.
Well, the main thing is he's like, fuck the gods. I'm going to get that bow, release the Titans, and let the Titans take care of the gods.
On that point, there's a lot in common here with the original Conan, or I would say ripped off from the original Conan the Barbarian.
Absolutely.
But that's neither here nor there. It certainly borrows heavily in all directions from these type of films, even from Clash of the Titans, which you're like, no, don't borrow from that. Nobody wants you to do that. But Theseus is chosen by Zeus, who is actually who John Hurt is in real, that's his human form, and in truth he's Luke Evans, like the much more handsome and gayer Zeus, who has commanded all the rest of his gods to not do anything to help the humans, even though every time he turns around he does something to help these.
Well, you can help the humans, but don't help the humans.
And that was really from mythology. Zeus used to pull that bullshit all the time.
Exactly. Well, I mean, when it comes to, Zeus is the god of thunder, but he was really the god of being full of shit.
Yeah, he was the god of being a dickhole. It's true. It ends up with Theseus reluctantly being put in the position to be the hero, and Zeus being like, I know you can be the hero. You don't need these other gods to help you. You can defeat this guy and stop the Titans from being released. I don't know, man. It's a mess is what this story is, because people say this is one thing and then they do something else entirely. characters die, and then suddenly they're not dead.
Wait a minute, who died?
The gods.
I don't think that's true, but...
Yes, it is.
But, I mean, keep in mind that they are immortal and they're gods.
The movie starts with a voiceover saying that gods can kill other gods.
Okay, but I don't remember any gods dying and then coming back again.
Yeah, they do. Didn't you watch the end of the movie?
I don't want to talk to the end, but that's not really the same thing.
I think it is. But either way, along the way, you've got Stephen Dorff, who is there supposedly for comedy relief, but they don't actually give him anything funny.
He's there to be like the guy who travels with him, who has some kind of I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Anachronistic sense of humor to add somewhat.
What to say like things that are totally inappropriate to the situation.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and like these type of roles are, except once again, he's not funny. He's less like the sidekicks in Conan the Barbarian and more like the sidekick in Conan the Destroyer, where you're like, why would you even say that? That's not funny, and you're just going to piss that guy off.
See, I feel like if he was funny, you'd be like, oh, great, they're in a serious war, and this guy's joking around.
No, I'd be happy, because this movie desperately needed some levity, and it never, ever got it. I just... Man, I'm almost irritated that you like anything about this, because I think this is a giant piece of shit. I really do. I am that much more irritated by the fact that it did have some neat visual stuff going on, because it was like polishing a turd. It was like saying, we know this is absolute garbage. I mean, we got the worst writers we could find, but we fucking gilded it in gold. You know, why bother? Why don't you actually hire a real fucking writer instead of like trying to pass off this bottom dollar garbage as entertainment?
Yeah, I didn't feel that way.
God, okay, well, you go ahead and you just tell me why.